Axl Rose was born William Bruce Rose Jr. in Lafayette, Indiana, the oldest child of Sharon Elizabeth, née Lintner, then 16 years old and still in high school, and William Bruce Rose, then 20 years old. His father has been described as a troubled and charismatic local delinquent, and the pregnancy was unplanned. His parents separated when Rose was approximately 2 years old, prompting his father to abduct and allegedly molest him before disappearing from Lafayette. His mother remarried Stephen L. Bailey, and changed her son's name to William Bruce Bailey. He has 2 younger siblings, a sister, Amy, and a half-brother, Stuart. As young children, both Rose and his siblings were regularly beaten. Until the age of 17, Rose believed Bailey was his natural father. He never met his biological father as an adult. William Rose Sr. was murdered in Marion, Illinois, in 1984 by a criminal acquaintance who was convicted even though the body was never recovered. Rose did not learn about the murder until years later. The Bailey household was very religious. Rose and his family attended a Pentecostal church, where he was required to attend services 3 to 8 times per week and even taught Sunday school. Rose later recalled an oppressive upbringing, stating, "We'd have televisions one week. Then my stepdad would throw them out because they were satanic. I wasn't allowed to listen to music. Women were evil. Everything was evil." He accused his stepfather of physically abusing him and his siblings and sexually abusing his sister. Rose found solace in music from an early age. He sang in the church choir from the age of 5, and performed at services with his brother and sister under the name the Bailey Trio. At Jefferson High School, he participated in the school chorus and studied piano. A second baritone, Rose began developing different voices during chorus practice to confuse his teacher. He eventually formed a band with his friends, one of whom was Jeff Isbell, later known as Izzy Stradlin. He also befriended a girl called Anna Hoon, who would later introduce him to her little brother, Shannon. At the age of 17, while going through insurance papers in his parents' home, Rose learned of his biological father's existence, and he unofficially readopted his birth name. However, he referred to himself only as W. Rose, because he did not want to share a first name with his biological father. Following the discovery of his true family origins, Rose became a local juvenile delinquent in Lafayette. He was arrested more than 20 times on charges such as public intoxication and battery, and served jail terms up to 3 months. After Lafayette authorities threatened to charge him as a habitual criminal, Rose moved to Los Angeles, California, in December 1982. After moving to Los Angeles, he became so engrossed in his band Axl that his friends suggested he call himself Axl Rose. He legally changed his name to W. Axl Rose prior to signing his contract with Geffen Records in March 1986. During Rose's late teens, a psychiatrist concluded that his delinquent behavior was evidence of psychosis. He was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. In addition, the psychiatrist made note of his high IQ. In a subsequent interview, Rose questioned the diagnosis altogether, stating, "I went to a clinic, thinking it would help my moods. The only thing I did was take one 500 question test, ya know, filling in the little black dots. All of a sudden I'm diagnosed manic depressive. Let's put Axl on medication. Well, the medication doesn't help me deal with stress. The only thing it does is help keep people off my back because they figure I'm on medication." In contrast to his public image, Rose was not a heavy drug user, though he did not disavow the use of illicit substances entirely. Rose intentionally overdosed on painkillers in 1986 due to stress, stating, "I couldn't take it. And I just grabbed the bottle of pills in an argument and just gulped them down and I ended up in the hospital." Rose's experience at the hospital inspired the lyrics to the Guns N' Roses song, Coma. In the early 1990s, Rose became a staunch believer in homeopathic medicine, and began regularly undergoing past life regression therapy. He went public with his uncovered memories of being sexually abused by his biological father at the age of 2, which he said had stunted his emotional growth. When they talk about Axl Rose being a screaming 2-year-old, they're right. His dislike of touring was caused in part by the various illnesses he contracted over time. He expressed his belief that these health problems were caused by him unconsciously lowering his own resistance as a form of self-punishment. During the recordings of Chinese Democracy, Rose had a personal psychic who would look at photographs of potential employees to read the auras and decide if they should be hired. In early 1986, Rose began a relationship with Erin Everly, the daughter of singer Don Everly of the Everly Brothers. He wrote the song, "Sweet Child O' Mine," for her, and Everly appeared in the accompanying music video. Rose and Everly were married on April 28, 1990, in Las Vegas. Less than a month later, Rose first filed for divorce. The couple later reconciled, during which Everly became pregnant. She suffered a miscarriage in October 1990, which deeply affected Rose, who had wanted to start a family. Everly left Rose the following November after an altercation. They annulled their marriage in January 1991. In mid-1991, Rose became involved in a tumultuous high-profile relationship with supermodel Stephanie Seymour. During their relationship, Seymour appeared in the music videos for "Don't Cry" and "November Rain." Rose became deeply attached to Seymour's young son, Dylan, and tried to be a good father figure for the child, as there had been none in his own life. Seymour and Rose became engaged in February 1993, but separated 3 weeks later. In response to an informal study that named him the world's greatest singer, based on a study of vocal ranges, Rose told Spin in 2014, "If I had to say who I thought the best singers were, I'd say first that I don't know there's a definitive answer, as in my opinion it's subjective, and second that my focus is primarily rock singers. That said, I enjoy Freddie Mercury, Elvis Presley, Paul McCartney, Dan McCafferty, Janis Joplin, Michael Jackson, Elton John, Roger Daltrey, Don Henley, Jeff Lynne, Johnny Cash, Frank Sinatra, Jimmy Scott, Etta James, Fiona Apple, Chrissie Hynde, Stevie Wonder, James Brown, and a ton of others, predominantly 70s rock singers, and would rather hear any of them anytime rather than me." 5. Rose later cited Queen as his favorite band, and Mercury as his favorite singer. On April 28, 2015, Rose sent a letter to Indonesian President Joko Widodo asking Widodo to remove the option of the death penalty in the case of the Bali Nine on grounds of humanitarianism. Rose then criticized Widodo for ignoring the international outcry after 2 were executed. Rose has used Twitter to criticize various figures in the Trump administration, as well as other figures such as Apple CEO Tim Cook. On May 7, 2020, he used Twitter to criticize Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin for the Trump administration's handling of the COVID-19 pandemic, to which Mnuchin responded. Rose was arrested over 20 times as a teenager in Indiana. Rose and Slash were charged with statutory rape in 1985 after Rose had sex with a 15-year-old girl named Michelle. After sleeping together, they had an argument and the girl left the house while she was still naked. Rose recalled the events. "This hippie chick wandered in and started fucking with our equipment trying to break stuff. So eventually she wound up running down Sunset naked, all dingy, and didn't even know her own name." After several weeks being fugitives hiding from police, the charges against the two were dropped due to lack of evidence. In November 1987, Rose was arrested on stage after assaulting a security guard during a show. Rose was held backstage and allowed to leave if he apologized to the guards, but refused and was arrested. In 1990, Rose was arrested for assault with a deadly weapon after allegedly hitting his next-door neighbor on the head with an empty wine bottle. Rose stated that the neighbor swung a wine bottle at him after he responded to her yelling. There had also been frequent incidents between the two over loud music being played. The run-ins with his neighbor inspired the lyrics to the song, "Right Next Door to Hell," on Use Your Illusion I. In 1992, Rose was arrested for his role in the Riverport riot. Rose was found guilty of property damage and assault. He was fined $50,000 and given 2 years probation. Rose was arrested in 1998 at Sky Harbor Airport in Phoenix, Arizona for threatening an airport guard who was searching his luggage. 133. He was charged with a misdemeanor count of disorderly conduct. Rose's publicist stated the incident was a simple misunderstanding and that Rose was simply trying to protect a fragile memento he had been given. Rose was arrested in Sweden in June 2006 for biting a security guard in the leg. The guard had confronted Rose, who was arguing with a woman in a hotel lobby. Rose was deemed too intoxicated to be questioned right away by police. He was fined $5,500 for the incident as well as ordered to pay $1,360 in damages to the guard.